How does ChatGPT work? Well, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and we're going to go through each of those terms in turn. ChatGPT uses generative AI rather than the traditional predictive AI. Predictive AI kind of extrapolates from what's happened in the past together with some models to control predictions for the future. So for example, you might have a weather program that has all the data from what's happened in the past and it predicts what's going to happen next week. That's the weather forecast. By contrast, generative AI makes something that's new. It creates something that's new. For example, it might take data distributed around the web and from books and write a poem that didn't exist before, or it might be used to generate a report or a presentation. It's like the difference between a judge and an author. Predictive AI is like a judge. It analyzes things to reach some conclusions. That's the predictions. Whereas generative AI, authors create something completely new that didn't exist. ChatGPT is pre-trained. That means it's given a whole bunch of data from the World Wide Web and from books and so on, and that's used to get it up to scratch. The initial ChatGPT finished its training in September 2021. At the time of creating this video, the latest version of ChatGPT is ChatGPT5, and that was trained up till June 2024. That means that ChatGPT doesn't know anything that happened after June 2024. So ChatGPT is not a learning program. It doesn't learn anything. Having said that, it does remember things. So you can set up a set of prompts or set up a context, and you can use that context for future prompts, future questions, future instructions. ChatGPT was trained on data up to September 2021. This table shows the evolution of ChatGPT since that date. GPT-5 was updated to include information to June 2024. Additionally, versions of ChatGPT-4 added web browsing features like Google and Bing, which allowed ChatGPT to access and utilize more up-to-date information from the web. This might give you the impression that ChatGPT knows more than it was given at the cutoff date. ChatGPT is based on the transformer model. The transformer model is a neural network, so it's loosely based around the way that our brains work. There are nodes connected by neurons, and it has to be trained and tuned to recognize certain kinds of things. ChatGPT is based on natural language processing, so it works on words, primarily words in the English language, and it's particularly good. The transformer is particularly good at recognizing relationships between words, making connections within sequential data. The kind of landmark publication on this was Attention is All You Need by Vaswani et al. In 2017, where they explained how their transformer works. The core technologies behind generative AI are neural networks. Here is an example of a neural network. In this diagram, over on the left are the input nodes in green, over on the right are the output nodes in red, and there are a number of layers of intermediate nodes. And what you have to do is you have to train this network by altering the connections between nodes and the strength of the effects of individual nodes. The transformer model used by ChatGPT is an example of a particular kind of neural network, and it's based on large language models. So large language models are models of generative AI that process text. Apart from large language models, another type of model used in generative AI are diffusion models, and they're primarily used to generate images. Here we can look at the process that ChatGPT uses in more detail. So if we take an example sentence, this is a very short sentence, we go to work by train. One of the first things that ChatGPT does is identify tokens. In this example, I've restricted tokens to words, so it's split that sentence up into we go to work by train. 6 different tokens. The basic premise of a large language model is to predict the next token based on the text observed so far. So for example, if you were given we go to work by, it would look at its large database of words and determine that possibilities include train and bus, there will be others, and then what it works out is the probability that the next word will be train and the probability the next word will be bus, and by default it will select the most likely next word, in this case train. The transformer architecture is the fundamental building block of all language models with transformers. In the diagram you can see the pre-training that occurs to the model. In ChatGPT's case, at time of making this video, training data up to April 2023. That data is then fed into ChatGPT and you provide a prompt, which is a question or an instruction, a paragraph. It can be very detailed, and ChatGPT divides that all up into the request that evolves from the prompt and the context, which is the data that it's going to use to answer the request, and it generates a response. Before that response is output to you, it undergoes a process of moderation. At that point, ChatGPT does things like check the words that have been used so it doesn't swear at you or it's not inappropriate, and then it finally creates the output which is presented to you. The modification to this model that was made to ChatGPT was to incorporate web browsing, and there are various tools you can use where some of the data to create the prompt is generated from Google or other areas of the World Wide Web.